Hey, welcome everyone. I am Carl Willis with Agent Branding and Marketing. I'm the CEO, and I wanted to start by saying welcome, taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today, and we want to make good use of your time. So today we're going to be looking at the fact that 2026 is not just another year when it comes to marketing. If you are still marketing the way you did in 2024 and 2025, you're going to get left behind very quickly. And the reason you're going to get left behind very quickly is this thing you keep hearing about over and over and over again, and that is AI, because it is changing the landscape almost daily. And so, what I want to really help you do today is position yourself ahead of the curve and in front of your competition and really give you an advantage as you head into this year and beyond. And so that's what we're going to do here over the next few minutes, is really help you position well so that you've got maximum visibility in the landscape and you've got that advantage ahead of your competition. And so that's where we're going to take you today. So, the biggest thing that I want you to get your mind around as we get started is there are three forces that are changing the game, because the rules have changed and they've changed very quickly. Because Google searches are now giving AI generated answers using Google's Gemini AI engine. So what happens is Google search now uses AI overviews giving curated answers, not just a list of links, not just a list of sites that the user goes and looks at, but now gives a lengthy curated answer to the question being asked. And so what this does is it changes how buyers actually do their research and how they choose who they are going to work with. And so your digital footprint is going to determine whether or not you even show up in this recommendation. And so what happens is the buyer or the customer or the prospect, however you want to refer to them, goes and does their search. And Google does this AI overview, and your buyer now expects an instant, frictionless answer to their question. They're not having to go browse through 10 different search results. They're not having to go click different links. And so your role as an agent in the sales cycle is actually shifting, because the decision is being made before that prospect ever contacts you. What we're finding is about 70% of the time, the consumer has actually made their buying decision before they ever pick up the phone or fill out a form. And so you've got to be ahead of that decision, because the decision making process is now happening faster because the due diligence is being done at the time of the search. And so that really brings us into this next slide that we're going to talk through. Is the AI overview is really changing the way the consumer goes through their decision making process, because Google is doing the thinking for that prospect. And it's using what's called multi step reasoning to do that. It's breaking down complex questions and answering all of those at once. And so, if your website, your Google business profile, and your content don't check all the boxes, you're actually out of the loop. And what that really means is you become invisible, because What Gemini is doing is it is pulling from multiple locations to pull context to give those answers. So let me explain this a little further. If I ask a question to Google, what Gemini is really doing is it's evaluating what are the other 12 questions I'm likely to ask behind my initial question, and it's going out and pulling the answers to those questions and then providing me that information as part of the due diligence it's going to return in the answer that it's going to give me. And where it's pulling that information from is the top rated contextual sources from across the web. Now, what you're going to need is relevant content. That content has to be relevant, it has to be reviewed, and it has to be visible if it is going to show up. Now, here's the risk. If you don't check all the boxes of being relevant, of being reviewed, and of being visible, you are not going to show up, which means you are going to be the exact opposite. You are going to be absolutely 100% invisible to that prospect because you're not going to show up. Google is not going to show you in that AI overview search result. Now, what we're seeing happen because of that is a compressed sales cycle. So if you go back 3 years to 2023, people needed a much longer sales cycle in their decision-making process. So in the past, people bounced around doing research. They would go from one link to another link down the list of that Google search result. They were bouncing around in research mode. But now, because of the AI powered search result that might include your competitors, reviews, and product comparisons, and Google's own recommendations, all in one place, that sales cycle is getting compressed because the due diligence is being done simultaneously all in one place. And so what happens is now in 2026, whereas it used to take 6 to 10 engagements or interactions, in 2026, it's only taking 1 to 3 touch points after that AI overview to complete the sales cycle. So that sales cycle is getting compressed. It's being cut in half, sometimes by a third. So it's accelerating the sales cycle. Here's the real concept that you need to grab hold of is that trust is built before they ever meet you. What that really means is the person is deciding, do they trust you before they ever pick up the phone to call you or before they ever fill out the form on your website or your landing page. So the first impression is no longer the phone call or the visit to your website. It's actually your digital brand, your digital footprint. It's what are they seeing in totality in this AI overview. It's what is being pulled into this AI overview that is being represented in the due diligence in the AI overview, and what type of impression is being left in that AI overview, because it is including reviews, comparisons, and first impressions as AI is compiling that from all the information that is available about you across your online ecosystem. And that's a term that I really want you to grab hold of is your ecosystem. That is what is being analyzed by Gemini when you're making that search query. Now, we need to understand that the expectation of today's buyer has changed, and it's changed radically in the last 24 months. One of the most surprising statistics that came out at the end of 2025 was what has happened to click-through rates going to websites from mid 2024 to the end of 2025. The statistics told us that organic traffic click-through rates dropped 61%, and paid traffic click-through rates dropped 68%. Precipitous drops in traffic to individual websites and landing pages because of AI overviews. People were getting the information they were looking for in the AI overview and simply bypassing going to the website based on the ad or based on the organic search result. So here's what we need to understand is that what today's buyer expects is human helpful content that is localized and personal. Generic content simply doesn't cut it. Buyers are looking for content that speaks to their specific location and their unique needs. They are also looking for verified reviews across multiple platforms. So one platform is simply not enough. They are going to check Google, they are going to check Facebook, they are going to check Yelp, and they are going to check other places for verifiable reviews. And they want confidence in your authority before they actually reach out and contact you. And what you need to understand is they have already decided if you are credible and trustworthy before they ever pick up the phone to call you or fill out a form requesting information on your website or landing page. So here's the real crux of the conversation. AI is actually mirroring what real people want. They want relevance, they want trust, and they want clarity. So your reviews, your business info, and your articles, these are no longer nice to have things. They're actually how you are going to get found. So the agent who answers questions online, who creates localized value, and who maintains reviews is going to be the agent who wins the traffic and wins the client. So these are critical. You have to become the trusted authority in your localized context. You've got to stay on top of all of these things. Now, let's talk about your digital footprint, because your digital footprint is your online storefront. And if it is messy, if it is outdated, if it is hard to find, you are going to lose this competition. If it's clear, if it's optimized, if it's engaging, then AI will start recommending you as the best answer to that prospect's query. So let's break down what these components actually are going to look like and what a good footprint really comprises of as a winning combination, because it's not just one of these, it's all of these working together in synergy. I like to call this your ecosystem. Your Google business profile, and I can't overstate this one enough. Google loves Google. Google has been moving towards a zero-click search result for some time, and we saw that this last year. Clicks from organic searches down 61%, clicks from paid searches down 68%. Google would prefer to keep you in the Google environment because it's more profitable for Google. So your Google business profile, top of the list. Make sure that it is fully optimized, that you have filled out every section, you have clicked every toggle switch, you have filled out every category, you have put as much information into that profile as you can, and that you are updating it regularly. Post to it, add pictures, add videos, make it as robust as you possibly can. Use localized links, put localized content of interest to it. Work that Google business profile regularly. Second to that, high quality service pages on your site. Make sure you are talking extensively about your services and that you are giving good, detailed information about what it is that you do, who it's tailored for, and again, tailor it towards the consumer who is your ideal prospect, and add some local flavor to that. Really tailor that towards that audience. Again, localized content is critical. The less generic that page is, the better, so that it is distinctive and it carries the flavor of the community that you are serving or the particular audience or niche that you are serving. It is going to perform better. Consistent reviews. This one is really critical. When you look at the AI overviews that Gemini is serving up, you are often going to see terminology along these lines. Customers often say, this agent does XYZ. Noted for this type of experience, noted for helpful information on XYZ. What you're going to see is a lot of actual experience feedback from the consumer. That is being weighed very heavily in these AI overviews. All things being equal, if Google's AI is having to make the choice between an agent who is getting reviews every 2 to 3 weeks and an agent who is getting reviews every 2 to 3 months, it is going to recommend the agent who is getting reviews every 2 to 3 weeks. If it is having to make the distinction between the agent who is getting reviews that mention the services that the client was utilizing versus the agent who doesn't have those types of descriptions, it's going to serve up the agent who has better descriptions in those reviews. If it has to make the distinction between the agent who responds to the reviews and the agent who doesn't respond to the reviews, it's going to serve up the more responsive agent, because it's, again, going to look at who gives the better experience, who is the more authoritative, who is the more trustworthy. And so we have to keep those things in mind. The next piece that we need to look at is video and personal branding. And this is another one that I can't stress enough, especially when it comes to video. Short form video is a category in Google search. One of the things that most agents don't realize is that the large language models that comprise the AI platforms, whether that's Gemini or Chat GPT or Perplexity or Claude are trained off of short form video content. That's part of how they learn. And so when you produce short form video content, you are creating expertise that is going to be used to train those large language models. You are positioning yourself as an expert and an authority in your field, your niche, your industry, simply by producing that content. When you look at the AI overviews where they are pulling their information to make their recommendations, one of the common places they are pulling from is from short form video content. Your top places to post that short form video content are going to be YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and your outlier behind that will be TikTok. But that's where you want to consider posting that type of content. It is going to carry a lot of weight. And when the AI is analyzing, are you the expert and the authority in your marketplace? It is searching the entire ecosystem. So it is looking at your Google business profile, it is looking at your website, and it is looking across your social media universe. And then it is looking for video and branding content that demonstrates your expertise and your authority in the subject matter. And because that video content is used to train large language models on the subject matter, that's a place you want to be. You need to think of your digital footprint just like your online storefront. The other piece of this that you need to remember is that today's consumer is in a multiple modality mode of research. They are likely on their mobile device a good part of the day. Part of the day, they may be on Instagram, scrolling the feed, looking at images and videos. Part of the day, they may be on YouTube. Part of the day, they may be on Facebook. Part of the day, they may be on LinkedIn. Part of the day, they're doing Google searches. Part of the day, they are on the AI platforms, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude. They are moving around constantly. And then when they are ready to transact, often they are moving from their smartphone over to a laptop, maybe a tablet, maybe a desktop. So not only are they on multiple platforms, but they are on multiple devices. And part of the reason for having a robust digital footprint is so that you are visible in all of the places that they are at. The term that I like to use for this is being omnipresent. Everywhere that your ideal prospective customer is the same places you need to be. Now, that being said, let's use a real world example of what this would look like. Let's take an agent in Phoenix, Arizona. This agent was doing all the right things offline, but was practically invisible online. And so, after they align their digital presence with the new AI driven search expectations, they start showing up and then they start dominating those results. And this is the kind of transformation that can happen. So before they've got their generic site, doesn't look any different, read any different. It's not localized, it's not personalized, it's not tailored towards their audience. They have a very low review count, and the content is just generic. It does not speak to the local market. So they begin to tweak it. They optimize their Google business profile. They begin to create localized videos, and they begin to automate their review process. So their review count begins to increase, and it begins to increase at a steady rate. And what begins to happen is they begin to see a visibility increase, 238%. They begin to see a 3-time increase in inbound lead flow, and they begin to see their cost of acquisition decrease. That's what happens when your visibility begins to increase at an exponential rate. When you go from invisible to being in demand. And that's what's happening in this AI driven marketplace. If you're not showing up in these AI driven search results, you just don't exist. And you truly do fall off the face of the earth, which is not what you want happening. Now, here's 5 moves that you as an agent really need to make in 2026 and moving forward. And this is really the game plan that you want to implement moving forward. And these shifts are non-negotiable if you want to stay competitive. If you're relying on vendor generated content, you're going to fall behind. And so, what I want to really drive home to you is you've got to think like a brand, not just like an agent or a broker or a salesperson, because AI is going to reward expertise, trust, and relevance. And that means you really have to raise the level of your game. So if you're going to think like a brand, here's what you have to do. You have to become a publisher of relevant, helpful content. That's first and foremost. Second, you have to optimize for multi-platform visibility. And what I want you to really consider here is you want to repurpose every piece of content you create. So the flow that we use internally here, every blog post that we create becomes a video. That video, we rip the audio from and it becomes a podcast. Then we chop that video up and it becomes shorts and reels. And then we take that same content and we turn it into social media content. So that one piece of content, before it's all said and done, becomes 15 to 20 additional pieces of content. And it also gets turned into part of our email sequence that goes into our CRM to our prospect list. So we never let any piece of content go to waste. It always gets optimized for multi-platform visibility. Then you want to use your AI tools to create and plan. Your AI will help you develop a content calendar, a publishing schedule, which platforms to publish to, what that content should be based on your objectives. And so it will make it very simple for you to put that plan together and how to automate it and how to execute it. And then you want to dominate locally. Again, this is critical because what we don't like right now is Google is deciding who wins and who loses. It is serving up the recommendations. Everybody else is buried. And so if you're not dominant, you just don't exist. And the way you dominate locally is reviews, directories, community topics, and authoritative content. And so you want to stay on top of those things. You want to become the dominant player in your market because what Google's going to do is they are going to recommend you. They are going to create a live link to you, and they are going to serve you up above everyone else. And then finally, you want to build a human brand with emotion and story. And I can't stress this one enough either, because people make buying decisions with emotion first, and they back that decision up with logic. And so we want to start with emotion and story because stories sell, facts tell. And so we want to stir the emotions and support those emotional decisions with logic. So build a human brand, tell the story, begin to stir people's emotions with your ability to tell the story as you go. Become a good storyteller in your marketing and help people move along in their decision making process. And you will find your marketing performs much stronger in the long run. Now, here at ABM, we've been preparing for this shift for a while. When we saw Google begin testing their generative AI at the end of 2023, we started working on our own answer to that dilemma. How are we going to respond to that? And so we've been focused on helping agents build brand authority, dominate local markets, and become the recommended expert in AI powered search. And so we want to help you as an agent win. If you're not where you need to be, if you've already fallen off the face of the earth, then we're prepared to help you get there. So, one of the things that we started doing in 2023 is we began to reverse engineer that process. Being a child of the 80s, I grew up with the Terminator and war games. And so I took the approach that it takes an AI to deal with an AI. And so we went AI centric as well. We know that Google's algorithm is slanted towards Google's bias and not necessarily towards you as the agent. So we have taken the opposite approach of developing our own AI to work for you as the agent. So we have done for you websites optimized for AI, local SEO plus Google Business Mastery, and automated review systems to help you up your review footprint, and then social and content strategy to position you as the expert. We have been preparing for that shift, and we want to help you as an agent build authority and dominate your local market in AI powered search. Now, here, as you build your brand, this isn't a someday conversation. This is actually happening now. And if you don't build your brand today, AI is going to build it for you because AI is shaping the choice of the consumer. It's influencing the decisions before you even know someone is actually looking. And you can't afford to let Google build your brand for you based on either outdated information or bad data. You've got to take ownership of your presence because your future clients are already asking questions. You have to remember your brand is either visible or it's been filtered out. And so it's important that you take action now. The tools are here and the opportunity is real. This isn't a someday conversation. It's a today conversation. You've got to build your brand before AI builds it for you. Again, remember, AI is influencing decisions before you even know that prospective customer is looking. So let's finish up by talking strategy. If you're ready to take control of your digital footprint and start showing up in AI powered search, we're ready to talk. Maybe you don't have your strategy put together, and here at Agent Branding and Marketing, we'd love to sit down with you and help you map out your strategy. And so you can schedule your strategy session with us and figure out what the right moves are today to set you apart to thrive, not just survive in this new era of marketing. And so you can schedule your strategy call with us at agentbrandingandmarketing.com/schedule, or you can give us a call at 888-572-8758. And I want to thank you for taking time out to join me today on today's webinar. We'll have another webinar next month about the same time. We'll be putting a topic out shortly. And as always, I thank you for tuning in and taking time out of your busy schedule to learn a little more about how you can thrive, how you can get 2026 off to a great start. Again, if you would like to schedule a strategy session, you can do that at Agent Branding and Marketing / schedule. Let me rephrase that, agentbrandingandmarketing.com / schedule, or 888-572-8758. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to speaking with you again next time.